Brandon from Rise Above the Anchor here in Orlando at the Social. I'm here with Emil from Chimaira. How you doing?
How's it going, man? Good, all right?
Pretty good. So this is the third day of the tour. Like, how's it been going so far?
It's been going great. It's third day, so all the stuff that comes with the third day, you know, all your merch and your shit's organized, and your neck doesn't feel too good, and but the shows are always awesome, and it's always good to be back. You know, we settled in the first show. You know, usually the first show is kind of a clusterfuck, but with this camp, we just sort of plowed right through it, and it's been wonderful so far.
How did the tour package with Threat Signal, The Browning, and Dark Summer come together? Like, did you guys pick those bands, or was it just kind of just thrown together?
A little bit of both, just thrown together by the powers that be, and approved by the powers that be, you know, in the band, out the band, all that kind of stuff, and it's a great package.
Yeah, because I wanted to ask how Dark Summer came to be on this tour, because their hometown's a couple hours from here.
Yeah, well, a lot of times when you see a tour, it's put together by, you know, it's presented and then adjusted, you know, by the band and stuff like that. I don't know exactly, to be honest with you, I don't know exactly who, you know, handpicked the bands and this and that.
I was wondering if you guys have handpicked them.
Oh, we approve it, so okay. Yeah, so most definitely. Like, they're all of them are fantastic bands, and they're really, really nice guys too, and that's just as important as being a great band, you know.
All right, your new album Crown of Phantoms comes out tomorrow. Like, how do you think it differentiates from The Age of Hell, your last release?
Well, the entire band is different. That's one reason. Yeah. That's one thing that'll be a lot different. So naturally, there's going to be some different things going on there musically, but the heart and soul's there. Mark's there. He plays guitar. He's written riffs on the record, and there's a lot of input from all the guys, and you know, I think that you know, I can speak for myself on this one. I've been in the band long enough, I think, to really understand kind of where the music's coming from, at least for the most part, you know. And that's kind of what I try to do as a musician, is understand where the music comes from. So when you write for something, you know, you have to take into consideration, especially this case in particular is very interesting. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of a band that just this happened with. Usually the whole band leaves and the band implodes, or the band leaves and one guy continues it and hires a bunch of beginners, and then the fans get pissed off and let down, which is understandable.
The heart machine.
Yeah. In this case, all the guys that came in to rebuild were very hungry and interested in the music and performing the music, writing music for the project, and it takes very experienced musicians to slip into a situation and to satisfy multiple listeners, whether it's fans, haters, producers, all this stuff. You know, but I think that what really makes the album different than The Age of Hell is that it's still song-oriented, which Chimaira should always be. I think all bands should always be, in my opinion. You know, a lot of these kids with these bands, these tech bands, wonder why nobody likes their band, and they don't even know what the hell the chorus is and what the breakdown, you know, all that stuff. So I think the main difference is going to be the musicianship, not because it's better or worse. We'll leave that to the viewers and listeners to decide, but just because it's different people. And I think that from the musical aspect, what's different is you can hear a lot of flavor brought to the band from the new guys with the heart and soul intact, you know, so which is really funny because I enjoy hearing kids tell me which riffs they think who wrote, you know, oh, that sounds like this riff from your band, and I'm like, well, Mark Hunter wrote that riff, played it too. It's like, so you get to really see what people hear, and that's what we enjoy as musicians, is you write a piece of, you put out a piece of art, and you want to see what people really truly think about it, you know, what they're assuming, what they're hearing, and I have to say it's been, so far, the album's not even out yet, but I mean, it's already out, everybody's got their hands on it, you know, but I'm very enthused and very kind of surprised at the reaction. Like, it's been all positive. So,
what are the lyrical themes for the album?
You'd have to ask Mark about that. You know, I could recite the lyrics for you, but the cool thing about
what is your take on them?
I think Mark is a singer. What really, why I really enjoy working with him is he manages to kind of point out the sign of the times while still putting personal experiences into the music.
Yeah.
He never gets carried away making something too political out front, or religious or political or whatever the case. He does a really good job at writing the fine line, and a lot of times, been playing tunes with him for a while, and even the older tunes, like hearing what the songs are about eventually, when you're like, he does something live, and you're like, hey, that was really cool. And he says, well, you know what that song's about, and then you talk about it, you're like, oh, that's what it's about, and it's usually something that I figured, but still my idea of what he was talking about was way off. So that's really cool, because, I don't know, it's you could see it too. A lot of people think that, No Mercy or New Tune is we're talking about vampires and stuff, and there's this thing called symbolism, and I think that it's pretty cool because he's great at it.
All right, where did you guys record the album, and who produced it?
Ben Shiegel produced it, who's no stranger to the band. He's produced the majority of their records. Every one of them except for one, I think, one or two. Yeah, and so he very much plays the role. I know it's very cliche for a band to say, oh, the producer's like a 5th member or 10th member or whatever, but he truly is like a 7th member. He has influence over every instrument. And we did it in Cleveland. Why not? It's something that I feel like we already knew Ben, and the whole band was comfortable with the idea that anyways, when you are reforming and rebuilding, the last thing you want to do is put yourself in a testy situation that may or may not work. You've already got that going on with your own, your own band. So it was really good for us to go with a sure bet, which is Ben Shiegel, and I had a great time working with him, and I'm sure everybody else did, because he's primarily a drummer. And having a drummer that's a producer, and his primary instrument is the drums, it really makes things pop a different way, especially with the drums. Him and Austin get along as drummers. They're both very just ridiculous and groovy at the drums. So it was really cool to see those two work together. It was cool to have a producer, that's not a guitar player, tell me to do something. I like that, because between the translation comes this cool thing that you may or may not have done. So when he's like, do something real soulful right here, and and he kind of does something with his mouth, does the air guitar, so do something right here. It's really cool to hear that, and that's what keeps it fresh for me as a musician, because most times you want to get away from just, okay, here's the song, now I got to put a solo over this part. I'm going to work on the solo for till the cows come home and all this stuff. Instead, you kind of get hit with some things you don't expect. So the end result is a record that you're not tired of, basically, yet. When you listen to it, you're like, wow, I would have never have done that on my own. So it was wonderful working with Ben. He's a cool guy, great musician, great producer.
Last two questions. How has Chimaira, because Chimaira's been a band for about 15 years now, how have they been able to persevere and go on throughout the many lineup changes?
Adjusting. And any company, if your company doesn't work with computers and it's the year 2000, or let's say this is 10, 20 years ago, and you're not working with the internet, you may need to step it up and adjust to the times, because you're going to go out of business. When Amazon.com comes around, you may want to consider making your business, having the ability to ship product, having the ability to compete with the new things that are coming out. This is a business. This is the music business. So the one thing that you can do for your band to stick around is adjust, and to be honest with yourself, honest with the business. Numbers don't lie, At this point, it's I'd say that the hunger is what got us to pull through. Our professionalism pulled us through. Adjusting and adapting to the times pulled us through, and most importantly, being bad motherfuckers just pulled us right through.
All right, last question. What's the best concert you've ever attended that you didn't play?
There was a Mastodon show at the Echo Lounge, what was that?
Yeah,
it was like a New Year's Eve show or something, where it was before they signed to a major, and I think it's right before they put out Leviathan, because when you're from Atlanta, we got we got half the band from Atlanta here.
It's like 04 or
04.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Mastodon was a really special thing, because it was granted we're talking the post 2000s, so it's about the closest you could see a Led Zeppelin style band coming into form. I know a lot of people are probably sitting there going, what the fuck is he talking about? But I'll say it again, that band's got something really badass and cool. And during the time that they came out, all that deathcore shit was going on, and it was very refreshing, and it was special for an Atlanta basketball team or somebody from Texas would like this football team or whatever.
Did you stop?
Keep going.
Okay. So there was a New Year's show that Mastodon played with Darkest Hour opening, and Darkest Hour crushed it. And I was like, wow, how is somebody going to follow that? Then Mastodon came on and it was I'll never play I'll always play a 2-band because of that show. Like, I'll always love loud shit because of that show. That was one of the most amazing shows I've ever seen. And, then there's other shows along the way. I've seen In Flames in their prime, crush it, I'd say probably I've seen Dillinger, Escape Plan, crush it in Atlanta. There's a lot of magical things that happen in Atlanta. It's an interesting place. But the show that sticks out in my mind the most, just by the audience reaction, it was sold out. People didn't give a shit. They were wasted before the band even got on. The band got up and they were kind of playing new stuff that wasn't even really like it wound up on the record. And that was the best show I think I've ever seen, because it was one of those nights where I went home pissed off that I wasn't in a band at the time that good. Because I was I was 20, early 20s. But yeah, that was an amazing show. And there's the randoms, the In Flames, and everybody's caught Slayer in their prime, and that was my first concert, Slayer, when I was 15. Slayer, Meshuggah, Sick of It All, Meshuggah's first North American appearance, and seeing those fans try to get into it was really funny. Because,
was that the tour where Slayer's fans weren't very happy with Meshuggah?
I don't know anything about that. I know when I ran in there, I was there to see Meshuggah, because that's what I grew up listening to more of the fused sides of metal, like Cynic, Death, and Meshuggah. Although I am a huge old Megadeth fan, I did grow up on Pantera. I do remember going in there and I was old enough to realize that the audience didn't get it.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I was kind of mouthing the words, and everybody's looking at me like I was out of my fucking mind, and I just thought that they were out of their fucking minds because they didn't understand what was going on.